Welcome to the Mamas at Work podcast with your host, me, Heather Rose. I'm so excited you're here and I hope you're ready to learn because I have some amazing women coming on to this podcast to talk all about entrepreneurship and being a mom and how we handle it all and juggle it all and maybe even balance. I love to talk about people's passions and find out what makes them excited about what they do and hopefully help the rest of us feel not so alone. So let's get going. All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Mamas at Work podcast. I have with me today Margaret Agard. She is the award-winning author of the In His Footsteps memoirs. She's a Christian mystic, a Reiki healer, and a former executive in the high-tech industry. She also has 8 grown children, which I think is just absolutely amazing. And I'm so excited to hear about her story. So hi, Margaret. Thanks for being here.
Hi, Heather. I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would love to just kind of delve into your story because I really looked you up, you know, all of your website and your about page and everything. And I just think you have an amazing story. So I'd love to, wherever you want to start, you know, we have working mamas here. So wherever you want to start in your story.
Okay, well, as a working mother, I was truly overwhelmed at times, especially with 8 children. I like to say as an executive in the high-tech industry, that takes a lot of time. And at one point, I decided to finish up my degree, and I was had just gotten divorced, and I was the sole financial support for our family of 9. And the kids were older. Some were going to college, but they lived at home. That's how I helped. Like, you're going to stay here and eat.
Right.
Yeah. And it just was, oh, yeah. And then going to school full time too, because the companies I was working for were starting to go public and they like their executives to have some credentials. So I thought I should finish that last year of school.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And so what happened is that, you know, the kids, the consulting business, the university, I was lucky to get 4 hours sleep a night.
Oh,
and
boy.
I started thinking, I know how to set priorities, but it seemed as if no matter what priority I set, that was the wrong thing. You know, the class was canceled or because the professor was sick. So all my preparation could have waited, or I took in a client proposal and they were, well, you know, we're really rethinking how we want to do that. So let's talk about that. And so, you know, we're just going to toss that one out. That's right. And start again. And I thought, if only I knew the future. That's what I was thinking. If only I knew the future, I would know what I really need to do. And that's when I thought, well, I actually know who does know the future, and that would be God. And so I started just taking my to-do list. I actually started in the morning, but then I found it works better if I do it at night. You know, we usually kind of know what we're doing the next day. And if I waited till the next day, I often was up and going before I thought, yeah, I probably should take time, but no. So it was better if I did it the night before. I just wrote down what I thought I was going to do. And I put everything on it, like drop by the library, you know, pick up that book on hold, kind of things like that. And I would sit there and just go through the list and wait that for people who are experienced with hearing that still small voice or that sense of this is what I need to do, that's what I would be doing as I went through the list. And I think, okay, I don't have to do this. I don't have to do this. And sometimes I think, are you sure about that, God? Because I think I do have to do that. And a couple of times even just thought, you know, I don't care what you say, I'm doing that. And so it always turned out to be, it wasn't necessary. So later, after I was doing computer consulting, I later stopped that and started selling products over the internet. And at this time, I was still, you know, I'm still doing that. I mean, I was doing that then. And I can remember one Monday, it was, you know, don't ship the orders. And we weren't big enough yet to have a shipping company. So I did it. And I thought, of course I'm going to ship the orders.
Right? Like, what?
It's been the weekend. This is half our orders for the week. Go out on Monday. And we say ship next business day. So, you know, I don't know how they do it in heaven, God, but I'm shipping these orders, right? So
I don't know how shipping works in heaven.
Right. Yeah. You know, like when you say you're going to do it. Anyway, So I get to the post office, and when you work for yourself, you often forget. Anyway, it was President's Day, so the post office was
no.
closed. I know, right? So you're like, oh yeah, I could have listened. But I was so sure. So that's kind of, I'm a pretty typical person who when I started doing it, I was like, no, I have to pay the bills, and someone's got to do those dishes, and the laundry has to get done, like that, right? So, But none of that actually fell by the wayside. What did happen, though, after maybe just even a few weeks, I could be finished every night by 8 if I only focused what was on the list and didn't add things, thinking I could slip this other thing, because I have enough time. And also, what happened is he began to kind of shift my life in a different direction. And I was given often just short things to do to help other people. Like, I want you to reach out to this woman or make this call, or just when you're driving home, stop by and just say hi. And that's often, I think, where the huge changes in the sense of feeling loved by God came, when I realized how much love he has and what simple things we can do for people that really lift them in times of stress. And he knew who was stressed and who wasn't, and what they needed. So,
well, yeah. And God knows that it's good for you too. Like,
right.
Yeah, it's not all just this stuff that you have to get done, but this is stuff that's good for you. That's beautiful.
Yeah. So I just still do that. Sometimes I get huge projects, and it'll be, I want you to finish, like my second book, I finally put on Audible, it's been out there 7 years, maybe. So anyway, and, so that took a few weeks, to like set up everything and get it recorded and send it out to a sound engineer. And so I'd say, what do you want me to do? And it might be make a call, but mostly it was, have you finished that other project?
Right.
So, I want you to focus on that. Yeah. And once I can remember, I looked at like a huge hole in my day. Like, oh, I have 2 hours. I mean, think what I could do with 2 hours. And I was trying to think. I was just leave it alone. And got a call from the school, one of our foster sons, because teenage foster kids, they've been through a lot, and they will act out. And he was acting out that day. And so I spent 2 hours at the school working with the foster kid. That's right. Yeah. It's not like
that's what those 2 hours were for.
Yeah, that's what they were for. That's right. But it's been, what would I say? It's been very healing. It's helped me. The real end result, I like to say in the title of the book, I got more done, more sleep, and less stress. But the truth is that I truly began to feel in my heart how much God loves us and me. And most people, if you said, people who believe in God, do you think God loves you? They're like, oh, yeah. But it's right up here in their brain that they're thinking that. In their heart of hearts, they think, but not really, because I'm really not good enough.
Yeah.
And so that was just gone. It became part of my heart, how much God loves me. And so the last thing I say in the book is, I used to try to be good so God would love me. But now I want to do good because I know how much he loves me, and I want other people to feel that same love.
Oh my goodness. That's beautiful. Oh my gosh, I didn't realize this is what I was going to turn into today.
Oh, sorry.
Don't be sorry. I cry very easily, so it's not like hard to make me cry. But no, I think that's something that, anybody listening to this podcast can take away from, because it's completely true about every single one of us. And I want to know, like, how did that start for you? How did you, like, because you said, you made those lists, and then did you just start, what? I need to just start listening to what God is saying, or did you make a specific decision, or what was it?
Well, it really was that point at which I thought the question started, what do I need to do today, God? Because clearly the last few weeks I had been doing things that didn't need to be done until later. And there were things I had left undone that probably should have gotten done. And so that's how the question started. What do I need to do today, God, to just, not walk in and find out they've canceled that proposal that I just spent hours working on, right? Rather than doing something with one of my kids. And so, but, they had to eat. So those always came first. But then it morphed. So after a while, as my life got truly under control and much more peaceful, and as I began to have confidence in what I was doing, then the question changed into, what do you want me to do today, God? Which is, a very different question. And that's when I would say that's when he was truly able to rearrange the direction of my life and give me my true purpose. And we were still able to eat. Yeah. The house gets as clean as I want to clean it.
Right. Yeah. As clean as is necessary.
That's right. So I think that part is, I think many of us are running very quickly in the wrong direction. So the younger you are to start doing this, I think the happier and more fulfilling your life is going to be.
Well, and I like that you bring up, it's not that, because you had on the list, things that needed to get done and that we need to have food and my kids need, school or whatever. Like none of that didn't get done.
Right.
Because God knows that needs to be done. Like God knows better than we do that needs to be done. So it's not like, I think it's interesting because there's this idea that I know, I mean, I've been a Christian all my life, so I've struggled with things like this as well. That, if I give up to God, then I'm like giving up my control and things will just kind of spiral. I don't know where he's going to take me, like it's a scary feeling. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Right. Yeah. I mean, we don't want to end up like Paul in Rome or,
no, I don't.
Beheaded. Yeah. Like, no, thank you. But actually and some people might be called to be Mother Teresa, but most of us are not.
Right.
Yeah. Most of us, we're raising, especially this is for the moms, we're raising children. And in other words, we're raising another human soul. I mean, how much more creative can it be than that? I remember a friend saying to God, I really want to do what Margaret does. I want to ask what you want me to do today, but I need you to know that I have like this pile of laundry. She had a big family. And, and the answer she got was, well, do what you need to do today, but whatever you do it with kindness. So so
simple.
Yeah, I know, but
Ish.
You've also directed her in other ways too, but not that particular day. That particular day, she got to do that. Of course I was afraid. Of course I didn't know where I might end up. And of course some of those songs about just one step enough for me, I used to want to see, but now one step enough for me. And I'd like to say I'm there, but not really. I mean,
we don't like to say we are.
Yeah. And often I have learned I can ask. I can say, well, what about this? Once I had to return library books and, it was before the internet. And I just thought, well, I have to return them. And it was, don't worry about those today. And I thought, but they're due today. And I don't want to pay 50 cents in fines, whatever it is.
Right. Yeah.
That would happen. And I said, so what do I do about that? And he said, well, just call a library and have them check them out, which they did. It would be, I could just ask. Yeah.
And then that stress is just like, oh, okay. It wasn't as big of a deal
as I thought. Yeah. Yes. And I have learned to just really count on that. What I need will be there when I need it if I just focus on what he wants me to do. I like to say, and I'm sure you've had these experiences, that I am blessed by my service, through my service, and because of my service. And I've had experiences with each of those.
Mm.
And I love to tell this story. In my first book, I call it the manure story, because my husband was the kind of person who, whatever he's doing, if you needed help, he just stopped and helped.
Oh,
I'm not like that. I always think,
me neither.
yeah,
I wish I was, but I'm
yeah,
not.
yeah. I mean, I'm always like, okay, so how am I going to get this other stuff done like that, right?
Yeah.
And anyway, he was trying to get manure, and he loves to garden. He actually had a 2,000 square foot greenhouse, and he needed a lot. And so, and there's a certain time of year. I mean, after that time, the manure is too hot. You just can't. You can't put it on.
Yeah.
And that time was coming, and he was getting, maybe a pickup load at a time for his. And so he would get up every day and say, I'm going to go get some more manure. And then someone would call. And this went on for like 2 weeks. And I was saying to God, that man gives so much. And that afternoon, while he was out this one afternoon, we got a call from the Yosemite haulers. That's what I call them, the Yosemite haulers. The Yosemite has a bunch of pack animals, which means they have tons of manure. Yeah. And I had suggested that we call them. And we had. And he said, they'll never come out because they say I live too far away. And he said, I've called them for years. Well, that day they called and said, we have some manure if you want it. And I said, yes. And so they showed up, and I'm telling you, this truck, the double tractor trailers going down the road. That's what it looked like. It was huge, huge truck. Fortunately, we live in the country, not a lot of neighbors. And they just dumped this mountain of manure in our front yard. And now a lot of men would not be happy to come home to that. But
not your husband.
Yeah. So God knows us and what we want. And so there it was. And I often see that happen, that if I'm willing to make a sacrifice, then what I truly need is there.
Oh, well, it's so true though. Like, because I think that's really interesting, because God, I feel like God is always kind of like, you gonna trust me?
Right.
You believe I got this kind of thing. And we just have to give that up, which it's like, I relate to that so well, because I am one of those that's like, I'm going to hang on because I don't know what you're doing.
Yes.
But once you do, then these amazing things happen because he's got it.
Yes. And to do it every day, I think, is where it starts to become a habit. And I don't know, so often, once I thought I had the perfect day planned, that God would really like this one. I had some service, I was going to
like this one.
Yes, really, I like this plan. And so I'm kind of taking it to him at night, and he looked at my list and he said, that is a good list. I went, thank you. And then he said, would you be willing to change it? And I thought,
Dang it.
Yes, exactly. Thank you. And so he said, well, what I want you to do, I've just told you what my husband would like, is I want you to spend the day just taking care of him. I was studying massage therapy at the time. I want you to give him a full body massage, make sure he has some good food, just sit and chat with him, because he knows our families need us. And sometimes we forget it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's... I love it so much. Oh, I planned this great day. God's going to love this. He's like, okay, I got a better one.
I have a better one. Thank you. Yes.
Oh my gosh. I love this so much. I want to ask, do you have most of my listeners are young mom entrepreneurs, business owners, and they, we experience burnout a lot. We get to that point, like you said, where we're only sleeping a few hours a night and constantly, like you said, running towards the wrong things. Do you have any words of wisdom towards, I mean, you've accomplished so much. You've done so many amazing things. It's not like because you stopped running towards the wrong things that you lost momentum and you didn't get anywhere, right? So I think that's what a lot of us fear. So do you have any wisdom towards letting that go?
I think as your trust in God grows, then it's easier to let it go. And sometimes it hurts. I actually liked being in the computer industry, and I liked sales. I liked making a big business to business sale. I was, getting a hard oil charge. And so to walk away from that wasn't particularly easy, but I liked even more what I started doing next. And, eventually when I ended up writing books, then it was, this is really what your calling is. And when I started doing podcast guesting, it was like, this is where I want you right now.
Yeah.
And I enjoy it, just like you enjoy it, right? It's fun. And so I look at that, and I like to say to people, I did accomplish a lot. You should never look at it in your 30s and think, look how much she's done, because I didn't do it all in my 30s. I can say, I had my kids and I was a stay-at-home mom until I was in my mid-30s. And then I was in the computer industry for 10 years before I became an executive. And then I gave that up to start selling this product over the internet. And for a few years in there, we served as missionaries. So we were just kind of letting the business run itself, and then in my 60s, I started writing these books, and then we sold that business. And so now at my 70s, I'm just doing the books and podcasting. So it's not as if I, at 30, was an executive with an internet product writing books, right?
Right.
No.
No, that's really great to hear, because it's so easy to get caught up in that comparing game, which, for moms in our 30s, we're like, oh, look at how far they've gotten. Look at all this stuff that they've done. And I haven't even started. Like, it's okay.
And sometimes God really will kind of rip everything out from under you. There's a woman, Kathy Patrick. I wish I could remember the name of her book, but she was in the book industry and she lost her job. And for some reason, she also knew she got herself through college, I think, as a beautician. And so she went to bed and was depressed for a week or so. And then she decided to start a beauty salon bookstore. And then, so there was a beauty salon with books, and she was very
oh my gosh, that's a salon I would go to.
Yes. And then she started a book club. She'd been invited to a book club thinking how fun. And then when she got there, the people said, she's like so excited. And they said, well, we're only inviting you for this one time because one person couldn't make it, but you're not like invited. And so she started a book club where everyone who wanted to come could come. Right? And this became a worldwide movement where they actually get together and have this big conference, and she has these authors come and speak. And so you see, like, she's laying in bed, and because she's lost the job she loves. And then a few years later, here she is on national TV talking about her beauty and bookstore, or whatever it was called. Yeah.
Well, and that's such a testament to just keep going. Just, don't give up on yourself either.
And you could be running in the wrong direction.
Yeah. And
maybe you do need to be stopped because there's something you're going to love more.
No, that's so true. And I think a lot of this like working mom and entrepreneur world, I don't know how else to say it. Yeah, this world, like a lot of it is, this is the stuff that you're supposed to do. This is what it looks like to be successful. But then you hear stories like that of people that thought, well, actually, I don't really like doing that. I'm going to do this. Or, even though you did love the computer industry so much, you realized that it was kind of sucking your life away. So it's time to do something different. Like, I really like that because, I am in the weeds of it. I'm in my 30s, so sometimes it can feel like, oh gosh, when will this be fun?
When will this be fun?
That's why I do this, because this is fun.
Right. And there is a point at which I think that this transition phase for businesses that are difficult, where it's almost there, where you can hire a manager, but it's not there. And what I would say, I have like 5 sons. And when they were doing businesses, I would say, you think that the next step for you is to hire a salesperson to grow your business. It is not. What you need to do is hire office management and people who can make the phone calls for you to set up appointments, because you're the one who knows how to close that business. And then when you have enough coming in to run the office, then you can consider hiring a salesperson. Because if you hire the salesperson, then who's going to do all the admin work?
Right.
Right.
And that's the stuff that takes up all that time.
Right.
And the person that you hire isn't going to be as in love with the business as you are yet.
No. Yet. Right.
Wow.
Right. Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting. Yeah, because that's definitely, I mean, people think, oh, I got to sell, I got to get more out there. That's a really good perspective.
Right. Hire people to support you. So that's all you have to do for a while. And then at some point, then you can look at growing and how you might want to grow it.
Yeah. Well, that's fantastic. Well, thank you so much. This has been an amazing conversation. I would love to have you back sometime. I'm trying to make my podcast a little shorter. They were like over an hour long.
Let's keep them to
all summer, or like all last year they were over an hour, and I'm like, I can't do that anymore. 30 minutes ish is good, but that means I can have people back because I still want to talk to them. So I'll be reaching out to you in like 6 months. But yeah, tell everybody where they can find you, where they can find your books and everything. I'll have links to the show notes as well, but go ahead and talk about it.
Okay, so inhisfootsteps.com is the website. And on that website, I have links to the books and the information on the third book that'll be coming out. And then there's, a little sign up form for a newsletter that I send out once a month. I like to say I'm old, I'm tired, I don't spam. You'll be lucky to get it once a month. And
once a month is perfect.
Stories, that's right. And because the Audible book is coming out, I have some codes I can give away so people can get it for free. So that'll be coming up soon. And then I have my links to my social media pages on there too.
Yeah. Awesome. Oh, fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Margaret, for being here. I really appreciate just talking to you and hearing your story.
Thanks, Heather. It's been fun.
Thank you for joining me for today's Mamas at Work podcast. I am so glad you were here, and I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did and learned a lot, because I know I always do. Please join me at my Mamas at Work Facebook group, where we will be talking about the women that are on this podcast, and you can sign up to be a guest on the podcast as well if you would like to. Thank you so much. See you next Friday.